Ron Killings arrived in TNA in June 2002 with something to prove. In WWE, he had been K-Quick, a lower card act known for rapping alongside Road Dogg. But in TNA, he was determined to shed that image. Wrestling veteran Jeff Jarrett, co-founder of TNA, initially viewed Killings as just another ex-WWE mid-carder. The kind of talent fans might dismiss as yesterday's soup. Despite these doubts, TNA gave Killings a platform to reinvent himself. Debuting as the brash Krush, Killings immediately stirred controversy by interrupting a segment with NASCAR drivers insulting auto racing in front of the Southern crowd. This stunt set the tone for his character: outspoken, confrontational, and unwilling to stay in his lane. Within a week, he was brawling with Brian Christopher, Jerry Lawler's son, establishing Killings as a hot-headed heel who wouldn't back down. This was a bold introduction that signaled TNA had bigger plans for the man soon to be known as The Truth. Killings' character transformation truly kicked in a month later. Dropping the Krush moniker, he began calling himself The Truth, cutting scathing promos that shocked the early TNA audience. These weren't your typical wrestling interviews. Killings injected blunt social commentary and personal grievances, something virtually unseen in mainstream wrestling at the time.
Right now, kissing my black ass. Let me explain something to you. Abe Lincoln freed the slaves. You know what I done? 150 years later, I freed the African American sports entertainers. Look how far I just came from. Black, white, brown, polka dot, I don't give a damn. You know what? I had a dream also. And in that dream, my foot was knocking the dust off your stinking sorry ass.
On TNA's 5th weekly pay-per-view, he unleashed a fiery rant, venting that his whole life he'd been kept down and treated like a second-class citizen. In a line that left the Nashville crowd buzzing, Killings declared, "I'm not an angry black man, I'm just the damn truth, and the truth will no longer be denied." Such politically charged words, explicitly accusing wrestling's power structure of holding him back due to race, were virtually unheard of then. Yet Killings delivered them with conviction, channeling real frustrations. As he later admitted, he drew on the anger of being unfairly released by WWE and years of being unable to express himself. Once given the chance in TNA, I became that character in the ring. I became that anger. This genuine edge made the Truth character feel raw and vital, instantly setting Killings apart from the cookie-cutter personas of that era. That passion translated into a rapid rise up the card. In a surprise decision just 2 months into TNA's existence, Ron the Truth Killings defeated Ken Shamrock on August 7, 2002 to win the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. The moment was groundbreaking. Killings became the first ever officially recognized Black NWA World Champion in the title's 54-year lineage. TNA pulled the trigger on him as a statement that this new promotion would defy convention. Even as a heel, the crowd was definitely behind Ron Killings by the time he toppled Shamrock. His unique blend of hip-hop charisma, dance-infused offense, and hard truth-telling struck a chord with an audience tired of the same old faces. Killings himself later realized how historic that win was. He said, "I didn't know how much of an accomplishment that was. That accomplishment was huge, making it be known as part of my legacy as an inspirational tool." Indeed, seeing a black wrestler claim one of wrestling's oldest championships in 2002 was inspirational, especially one who spoke openly about racial barriers. Killings' first NWA World title reign lasted 105 days, during which he defended against all comers and continued cutting provocative promos. His character relentlessly reminded both fans and fellow wrestlers that he had earned his spot, despite the naysayers. For a fledgling TNA, having an embittered African-American champion calling out industry prejudice was risky, but it gave the promotion an identity of rebellion. Even TNA's old-school patriarch Jerry Jarrett had to concede that Killings was breaking new ground. He eventually dropped the title to Jeff Jarrett in November of 2002, once the Jeff and Vince Russo storyline took center stage. But Killings had already etched his name in the history books. While his initial championship run was the most significant, Killings would taste NWA gold one more time in TNA. In mid-2004, amidst TNA's transition from weekly pay-per-views to its first TV deal, Killings captured the NWA World Championship for a second time. This win further cemented Killings as a top player in TNA's early years, one of only a few men to hold that title twice in the promotion's infancy. His second reign was short, just 2 weeks as Jarrett snatched the title back 14 days later. But the mere fact TNA trusted Killings in the main event mix again spoke volumes. Killings was the only Black World Champion in TNA's first 15 years, underscoring how trailblazing the role was. His presence in those formative main events gave TNA a hint of diversity and unpredictability that rival promotions lacked at the time. As wrestling journalist Dave Meltzer noted, TNA making an African American wrestler their standard bearer in 2002 was unprecedented since WCW had Ron Simmons a decade prior. A progressive move that added legitimacy to TNA's claim of total non-stop action being something different. Killings' 2 title reigns, though not lengthy, are now remembered as historic milestones that elevated TNA's profile and proved the company could create its own stars outside the WWE system. By late 2003, Ron Killings transitioned from singles championship contention to one of the most popular stables of TNA's mid-2000s, 3 Live Crew. Aligning with the outspoken Latino star Konnan and former DX member BG James, or Road Dogg, Killings helped form a trio that was equal parts entertaining and socially significant. The 3 Live Crew debuted in July 2003 and immediately stood out for its diversity. A Cuban, a black guy, and a white redneck, as Konnan joked, all united by a love of hip-hop and rebellion.
Yeah, I take them seriously. What is he doing with that belt? Oh my monologues.
Now that what I call a quickie.
And use AMW, they like it rough, don't they, Konnan?
Yeah, on the backside. What the?
All right, CM Punk and Julio Dinero, orderly, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I like their...
Hey, the rusty trombone. Maybe if he put some on that, it wouldn't be so rusty, huh? Look.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Harris and Dom DeLuise starring in Autoerotic Asphyxiation 2, Electric Boogaloo.
He looks like he's blowing... No. It was James Storm's birthday party. Yeah. And he was blowing out the candle.
Oh,
I thought he was blowing...
Ladies and gentlemen, the tag team champions of the world.
And they would wrap their way to the ring in matching camo gear, blending their distinct backgrounds into a surprisingly cohesive act. The gimmick worked. Fans were drawn to their catchy entrance music and the genuine chemistry between the 3 men, who were real-life friends. In an era when TNA was fighting for attention, 3 Live Crew brought much-needed charisma and comic relief to the shows. By the end of 2003, the 3 Live Crew's popularity was undeniable. They won the NWA World Tag Team Championship twice as a unit, often main eventing the tag scene and feuding with top teams like Team Canada and Triple X. Their first tag title victory came on November 26, 2003 in Nashville. It was a feel-good moment for the Asylum crowd to see Killings and company with gold around their waists. TNA's own 2003 retrospective notes that by year's end, the extremely popular 3 Live Crew were solidified as the premier tag act in the company. The trio segments were a highlight of the weekly pay-per-views and early Impact episodes. From comedic vignettes to impassioned interviews about unity, Killings in particular got to show more of his upbeat, funny side in 3LK, a contrast to the seething Truth character, which would showcase his range. The crew's success was also a microcosm of TNA's mid-2000s identity, scrappy, diverse talent coming together to make something entertaining for the fans, with a bit of edge. Within the crew, Killings was often the in-ring standout, his athleticism and creativity shown in 6-man tag matches and brawls. The group also helped stabilize Killings' role in TNA during a time when the main event scene was getting crowded. Although he wasn't chasing singles titles anymore, he was at least prominently featured thanks to 3LK's popularity. And as TNA evolved, so did the crew. In 2005, the faction briefly expanded into the 4 Live crew with the addition of Kip James, WWE's Billy Gunn. This development was part of a storyline where BG James brought in his old friend Kip, but Konnan and Killings were wary of whether the newcomer could be trusted. The 4 Live crew era was short-lived and tumultuous. Underlying tensions led to an explosive breakup at the end of 2005. In the aftermath, Killings sided with the fan favorite James Gang for a bit, feuding with a newly heel Konnan. However, without the original chemistry of 3LK, Killings' momentum was stalled now. By 2006, Ron the Truth Killings found himself drifting around TNA's mid-card. He had brief singles feuds and even turned heel for a short period in 2006, but none of these angles recaptured the magic of his earlier run. It was an oddly quiet period for a man who had been such a fiery centerpiece of TNA's beginnings. But in mid-2007, TNA gave Killings one more unusual push, teaming him with NFL star Adam Pac-Man Jones. Dubbed Team Pac-Man, Killings and the controversial Tennessee Titans football player formed a tag team during Jones' NFL suspension. The crossover got mainstream media buzz, though Pac-Man Jones had severe in-ring limitations. Contractually, he wasn't allowed to really do anything physical. So, Killings would carry the workload, and the duo would actually win the TNA World Tag Team titles in September 2007. It was a short reign and really just an angle, but another accolade to Ron Killings' TNA resume. By this point, however, Killings' relationship with TNA was winding down. He parted ways with the company in late 2007, seeking opportunities in music, acting, and eventually a high-profile return to WWE as R-Truth in 2008. Effectively, the 2002 to 2007 chapter was the full story of Ron Killings in TNA. But what a story it was. Ron the Truth Killings' TNA run left an indelible mark on the promotion's early identity. In an era when TNA was struggling to define itself against WWE, Killings was a proof of concept that TNA could take a talented but overlooked performer and make him a genuine star. His NWA World Title victory in 2002 signaled that TNA would not shy away from pushing new faces to the top, even over more established names. That gutsy booking, making a black man the face of a southern-based promotion and letting him speak freely about race and opportunity, set TNA apart. It's no exaggeration to say Killings helped give TNA that edge they were looking for. Those politically charged promos are still talked about today, and footage of him proclaiming hard truths to a stunned crowd has circulated on wrestling social media as a reminder of how ahead of its time TNA could be. In an industry where minorities often had to bite their tongue, Killings' TNA character was cathartic and influential. You can draw a line from the truth to later wrestlers who incorporated racial and social themes in their personas. Killings' success would pave the way for other black wrestlers in TNA. While it would be many years before another African American held the world title, Killings proved it was possible outside WWE's walls. Moreover, his versatility, transitioning from intense solo act to a fun-loving team player in 3 Live crew, showed the extent of what TNA's homegrown talent could do. For Ron Killings, that period allowed him to showcase charisma and humor that WWE audiences wouldn't really see until much later when he became the comedic icon R-Truth. Perhaps the strongest testament to Killings' TNA legacy is how revered his early work has become in hindsight. With R-Truth preparing for his big match against John Cena, many people will ask, how good was R-Truth actually? And inevitably, they point to his TNA run as his creative peak. In WWE, R-Truth found fame as a lovable comic relief, but in TNA, he was a revolutionary figure, a dynamic athlete unafraid to speak truth to power. He went from discarded WWE talent to a cornerstone of a new promotion, becoming a 2-time world champion, a tag champ, and a figure who brought issues of race and equality to the forefront in a way few others dared. Today, as fans enjoy R-Truth's comedy in WWE, many remember that beneath the jokes is the heart of a pioneer. The same man who once emphatically told the wrestling world, that the truth will no longer be denied.